Welcome to another episode of Be Aussie with BZ. This podcast has been a series of understanding more about Australian immigration and other things. My name is Nibras. Swagatam. Namaskar. So today I am in conversation with Mr. Burzin Nanavatti, the Australian immigration expert. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
So actually I'm coming from South India, and there are a lot of people who are migrants over there. Half of the community.
Keeps.
Yeah, of course. And
Keeps.
they say actually a proverb that says, even if you go to the mass, you'll find a South Indian over there. So
True.
we actually like to move around the places and embrace the culture. So Australia has been one of the major countries that we are looking up to. So can you just give us an advice, or how why we should have to choose Australia?
Australia, Commonwealth country, speaks English. Very easy, very warm people, four seasons. As I said in my previous podcast, there is more benefits of Australia than not going to Australia or not migrating to Australia. Our government requires people, our country requires people, rich in resources, high GDP. You name it, we have it. Like I would say, you name it, and we've got all the Malayalis over there.
Exactly.
So if you actually see, we have an entire Malayali community, we have a Tamilian community, we have a South Indian community over there, and Indians are now nearly becoming the second largest to the largest population in Australia.
That's great, actually. Understanding that there is a country that is embracing our culture also, and there's a clan of people, our community over there. That's understanding. So okay, so how do we migrate? Is that we know that we have to migrate to some other place, but we have to choose where we have to migrate, and what is the pathway? What is the best way to get into that country? And
Skill migration is the best pathway for normal middle class Aam Aadmi people, as we say. That is basically skill migration. And as you just said before about embracing, I like to raise a point over there. Australia is embracing Indian and Indian culture so much that they are having three major languages of India now being taught in their schools, and one of them is Tamil.
oh yeah.
So that is basically like Western Australia has already passed a bill where Tamil will be one of the languages that will be taught in the Australian schools in Western Australia.
Yeah, recently I think we have also seen a newspaper clip that our minister is giving a speech in one of the schools or universities, which is there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
It is there. Yes.
Because most of our people actually move to another country for their kids, so to understand that is being taught in their schools also,
Correct.
that is amazing,
Correct.
basically.
Australia embraces all religion, culture. You have mosques, you have temples, you have churches, you have, you name it, everything is there, like from whatever you want. It doesn't, in Australia, as we say, we are not Hindu or we are not Muslim or we are not Christian. We just say we are Australians. So that is our culture. Our culture is, who are we? We are Australians. That's our main culture, which is there.
Okay, so here I want to raise a question, actually. So you say Australian, so how do we become an Australian? So there is a bridge for that, right?
Yes, there's a pathway. You do your skill migration, or you go on any kind of visa, maybe a spouse visa, or maybe on a business migration, or you go maybe on student to PR, or whichever pathway you go into. You need to stay in Australia for at least 4 years. And the last year, you should be on a permanent residency visa, and you should be staying in Australia for 12 months continuously on your fourth year. And after that, you can apply for your citizenship. Once you apply for your citizenship, then you can apply for your passport.
Okay. So one thing that I want to make clear, that most of our people, the perception over there is that student visa is the way to go to another country.
Because people are ignorant in India. So
Correct.
unfortunately, it is what it is. Because the right kind of knowledge has not been passed on. People don't know how to do this. And people who are doing it, they don't know the channel. So the only way to do it, like if you see in my previous podcasts or in my previous videos also, I have clearly mentioned statistics have shown that if you are an Indian, your rejection rate is above 70%. So you can imagine. And even if you get into Australia on a student visa, your chances of getting a PR are much lesser than applying for a PR visa offshore.
Okay.
So you're spending so much of money, you're spending $100,000 or hundreds of $1,000s, you're getting into the country, going in for that. Plus, you don't have chances. So, because the immigration department of Australia has made it in such a way that they want people more directly on skilled labor instead of coming on a student visa and then trying to apply or take a pathway for permanent residency visa.
So you suggest that, if you want to migrate and settle in Australia, it
Now,
is
I
the
don't suggest, it's a fact.
okay.
It's a fact. You pull out the numbers, you check how many people who have gone on a student visa and how many people from that has actually got a PR versus how many people apply for a permanent residency visa and how many of them have gone. So if
Hmm.
you do apples for apples, you will actually get the numbers
Okay.
that if people going on student visas, and if they get the visa, their chances are much lesser compared to people applying for PR from here and going in over there.
Okay. Now it's like, it's like unlearning for me basically, because see, previously itself, everyone in India, especially in South India, they think about Canada as the place where we can migrate, and that to student visa. So in their mind, this thing is that if you want to go to another country, it is student visa, and the only place we can go is Canada. So Australia is a big country. The research have been showing that recently, Australia has been welcoming a lot of Indians, which is there. Yeah, my question is that, if you compare the passports, so that is one of the things that we look on to actually, because eventually we want to get another passport, which is there. So how Australian passport is, different from other countries?
First, I'd like to go back to your first question and talk about Australian embracing India right now. No, Australian has been embracing Indians now for the last 25 years. So Indians have been migrating to Australia for the last 25, 30 years at least. And yes, the pace has become much faster, much easier, much stronger recently. But Indians have been migrating. The first ever migrants that were there, who had gone were Britishers and Indians
Of
who had
course.
basically gone to Australia. So that is what is there. Also, your question is how strong is an Australian passport? Australian passport, like I'm an Australian citizen. Today, if I want to go to Dubai, I don't need to think. I just have to buy a plane ticket and I'm there. For an Indian, he has to think, he has to plan, he has to see. Because people in this region, the Indian region or the Arab region, which is there, it is quite difficult for them to decide because they have to stand, they have to apply for visas, they have to apply permission. There are 195 countries, Nibris, in the world, and 190 countries is visa free for us. So you can imagine how
So
strong our passport
yeah, of
is.
course, you have the world open for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Today, if my children want to go to America and to study, they can just fly there, take an admission in a university, get a student visa on the campus itself, and they can move. But for an Indian, that's not possible.
We have to have a lot of documents with us.
More than that, you have to show a lot of money.
But the thing is that, even if you have the documents, I think we are not guided, well enough to get the thing.
Absolutely right, Nimbus. You are not guided. In India, there are a handful of correct, right, ethical migration agents, registered migration agents who are there, who are actually doing their jobs correctly. Indians have not been guided correctly. That is why Indians have lost a lot of money. The Indians who basically turn around and say Australia is difficult, it is very hard to get. You will hear all these comments which are there. That's why I apply for student visa, is because they don't know the process. If they knew the process, if they understood the process, and if they did it correctly, these questions would have not come up.
Also, I think the agents or whoever is responsible for that, they are not marketing it properly, because they feel other countries
No,
more.
because they don't know. The agents are not authorized to do it. As you say the word agents,
Mhm.
they are not authorized to do it. It's only registered migration agents, the RMAs or immigration lawyers.
Okay.
And as I mentioned earlier, there are only handful of them. So there are only handful of people. Plus, how can they market something that they don't know? They don't know Australia is down under. They don't know the states of Australia. They don't know where and what the process is. It's like, as I had mentioned in my previous podcast to Archie, it's like a Filipino trying to say that I'm going to sell India when a Filipino has never been to India. It doesn't make sense at all. So, where we come in is we are Australians, we are based in Australia, we understand the law, we look at the political scenario, we speak with the officials, we speak with the authorities, and then we guide. It is not that we just take up anything that comes. Like there's so much of speculation that comes across that this is what XYZ person says. There is so much of mines, minerals. The Premier of Queensland turns around and says, "Oh, you know what? We've got so many migrants, but we don't have, enough people to build houses. So get them, get the skilled migrants. People are there, highly qualified people are there on this side of the world.
Yeah.
Get them, put them across, let them build double the more houses, get more people. The country needs people." And that's where our government, the Albanese government, is absolutely spot on and absolutely right. Opportunity is big, it will always be there, because without people, Australia cannot function.
Yeah, from what you have said, two words strike my mind. One is that the opportunity of educated people or the skilled workers, and the other thing is the population. This is what we have in abundance.
Exactly.
Yeah,
India has the largest amount. And, India and China, two countries. Difference between India and China. Chinese speak Chinese, Mandarin and Cantonese.
correct.
Chinese like to conquer. Indians like to work. Democratic country, communist country. Commonwealth country, India. Again, in Australia is a Commonwealth country. So it works well. It's a perfect marriage. And that's the reason the Albanese government is so open to having more Indians. And you know, whether people understand, like the opposition people in Australia, whether they understand or don't understand, it is the Indians who are basically running the world. Wherever you go, whether you go to NASA, you go to the Canadian Parliament, or you go to the US Parliament, or you go, and very soon the Indians will conquer the Australian Parliament, because they are the ones, they are the brains. Who's the Prime Minister
Correct.
of UK?
Correct.
It speaks for itself. These people are, these ministers in Australia, they are a frog in a pond. They have no idea. They only like to quack quack and get into their own little pond. They don't go outside, they don't see the outside world, they don't know anything.
And from our point of view, we want to explore more
There is
places.
no option. How much ever people scream, yell, it's like asking a crying baby to get its milk.
Mm.
Baby cries, shove a bloody bottle in his mouth, it'll shut up. It's something like that. So there is no point. How much ever the baby wants to cry on the opposition side, our government is very strong. They are very strong in what they want to do. They are very strong in what they want to speak. They are very strong in what they want to say or what they want to do. They are not going to listen to every crying baby that is going to cry around.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a bit more politics for me.
It
Uh,
is. It is. Immigration is politics. Like, we have the world's largest uranium mine. But what? If we don't have people to mine it, what the hell are we going to do with that uranium mine?
yeah.
Okay, even if we mine it, how are we going to take it out? If we don't have deep sea ports. To get to a deep sea port, you need a road. You need logistics. You need towns. And for all of this that I am speaking and saying, you need people. And the best people and the best product of people, I would say, with my knowledge and my experience, would be Indians.
Correct.
Because they are highly educated, they are smart, and
They're
they
in
can basic
abundance.
yes, and they can bring the country up, which they've always been doing. Like, you see Tata's $10 billion plus is basically the turnover in Australia for TCS. Just TCS. For Indian conglomerates, Australia is a tiny little dot in economy. A tiny dot. It does not make, it is so hard for the Aussies to understand that if they open their doors to Indian conglomerates and Indian, businesses into Australia, Australia could be a superpower country.
Yeah.
But it is happening because, as I said, our government, Albanese government, is opening up to Indians. Like the free trade agreement in December 2022. The coming up with the mates visa on the 1st of November, exclusively for Indians. That is going to open up a lot, and that is going to help people. Property prices. Today, there is no property in South Australia. There is no property in South Australia if you actually see. all the properties are immediately sold. If you take out list the property, within a week your property is sold. Where is the money coming from? It's the migrants who basically pump the money into Australia. It's the migrants who are building the GDP and the economy in Australia. Every Indian migrant family that goes to Australia will put in at least $100,000 to $300,000 bare minimum. They will take in the due course of time.
Yeah, I understand this relationship or the marriage that you said is mutual, because Australia is benefiting from the supply of the people which is coming in, and the people are getting benefited with the the returns that they are
Absolutely.
getting.
And that's why I said it's perfect marriage.
Correct. Yeah. And also, I'm coming from UAE also. I have been there also. So I can relate to that, because I see over there how UAE was before and how Indians have come, majority of that people.
Indians have built UAE.
Correct.
Who
Exactly.
built Burj Khalifa?
Correct.
It's something of
And
that
also
sort.
the government, recognize that also. So,
Exactly.
yeah, that is there.
The UAE government always has Indians at a higher level. Indians are always, it's not only you today, if India stands for war or if India stands for any of these things, you name it. You have US, you have Russia, you have UK, you have the top powerful countries that will stand by India. Because India is a country with abundance of people, with abundance of knowledge, but they need to be out more to explore, to get the insight, to work and get paid the due wages which they should be paid. Example, a plumber in India, you know and I know how much he's going to be paid. But a plumber in Australia will be paid around $30 to $40 an hour, a minimum basic. So engineers, they'll be paid $60, $70 an hour. Australia has the highest wage act. Today, if a person is working in UAE or he's working in India, there is no wage act.
Correct.
In Australia, bare minimum, he works in McDonald's, he'll be paid $23.23 an hour. He'll be paid around $40,000, $50,000.
That is mandatory.
Mandatory, as per the Australian government. That is how good our government is. They look after their people, they take care of their people, they basically make sure that the medicals are free, the education is free, education is mandatory, so that everyone that comes out is literate. They are coming up with different other languages. They've got different other European languages, as well as I said, 3 other Indian languages which are there, like Hindi, Tamil, and I think Punjabi, which they have even put up in their schools. So they are looking to explore. They are being more multicultural. And as I said, we don't say we are Keralites or we are Tamilians or we are Australians.
Yeah.
That's how we label it.
I'm sticking to the UAE point of view, because I'm trying to understand. There you don't get any long-term future over there.
Correct.
You work there and
Because
you have to
there's
get
no
out.
citizenship.
Yeah. So that is where the prospect of Australia is there.
Correct.
So yeah, coming back to our topic basically. So if I have to get an Australian passport, you said that PR is the right way, or which we have
Correct.
to
Skill
get.
migration.
Yeah. So if you compare with other countries, so how does that match?
Because like other countries, Canada is like lottery system, US is lottery system, UK does not have any skill migration program, New Zealand has stopped their skill migration program, only country left is Australia. So I don't know, there is no match. That's the only country which is there. Like if you talk about European countries, then you don't need to know the language. Like you want to go to Germany, you need to know German.
Correct. Yeah.
Because English is not the first language. You want to go to France, you need to know French. Like France has opened up even for Indians. Why is France open up for Indians? Because they know. Why is Germany opening up for Indians? Because they know. But you need to know German. You need to know French. Where in Australia, English is the common language, both in India as well as in Australia.
Okay. So that's interesting.
And for UAE people, it is basically, people go to UAE for a better life. People like to go to UAE because they want to move out of India. And the first stepping stone for Indians to move out is either UAE or GCC region or Singapore, Malaysia. These are the only 2 avenues that they first, which is like a springboard. Like Singapore will never give you a passport or citizenship. It'll only have a work permit, it'll have a work visa until you're working. And after that, you have to go back to your country. And no Indian region, that I mean is Indian, Pakistanis, or any of the Indian Arab region people want to go back to their country. So UAE, GCC, or Singapore, Malaysia is like a springboard for them to jump, spring, and then migrate and look for a better country, better opportunity for their families to move and migrate to that country. Now, as I said, no UK, no US, and US is lottery, no Canada, very difficult. Again, certain parts of Canada you need French. New Zealand is not accepting. European countries, yes, but again, it's only work permits, not permanent residencies. So
Yeah.
Australia is the easiest way for your future, because you come in as a permanent resident or a pathway to permanent resident, stay for 4 years, and voila, you have a passport, you have a citizenship.
Yeah, that's so. If you get a PR or after citizenship, you are treated similarly or same as the Australian.
You are treated same even if you go on a pathway to PR visa.
Okay.
As I said, I repeat myself again, I'm proud of my country. We are Australians. Once you come, you're one of us.
That
So
is.
we treat every migrant in the same ways that I was treated, or my ancestors or my people who had migrated or who are migrating. They were treated, every Australian, every migrant that comes in is treated as an Australian. So once you come in on a pathway to PR, also like a 491 visa, you're moving pathway to PR. You got a 887, or you go into a 491, whichever visa you get into, and you get a citizenship. You're Australian. You're treated like an Australian.
So that is an assurance that everyone wants, I
Yes.
believe. Yeah.
And that is what I would like to emphasize to everyone, all the people across, that it is what it is. People have the wrong notion. Media spits out wrong news
Yeah.
and gives a lot of different opinion about Australia. Yes, one part I can tell you which is really, really bad about Australia is they don't market themselves well.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the worst part of Australia, which I would say is they actually don't. They think they market themselves very well, but they don't. They don't have any spokesperson to speak about Australia. They don't have anyone to market about the country, about the riches, the minerals, the everything that the country has to offer. They don't market that. That's why people don't know. There are other countries that market themselves much better than Australia.
I can agree to that because it's only recently, like let's say, 5 or 6 maximum, that we are hearing more about Australia.
Correct.
And you have been working for Australian migration, related to that for more than 20
20
years.
years. Yes.
So you are well before the trend that started. I can
Correct.
say that you started the trend basically.
Yes, I was one of them who was continuously going on. I was one of them who was lobbying for South Australian government also. I was one of them who used to push more of Indians coming into Australia, trying to lobby between India and Australia as much as possible, or between Australia and the Arab world. Because that's what the country needs. The country needs people, and the people are only here. The qualified people, which is a perfect marriage or the fit for the country, is on this side.
Yeah, and going through your profile, I have seen also, yeah, that you are having a association with Bhutan government and the Australian government. So that is also government
Yes,
thing
we've
which is
done a
there.
lot of work, been there, done that, done a lot of these things. Right now, my only mission, as you call, is to basically keep promoting Indians to go to Australia as much as possible, keep applying for Australia, for them to have a better life, and for Australia, as our government is welcoming these people with open arms, as many as they want, to come down, live and work over here. Win-win situation. The Indians have a better life. Australians' economy starts getting built up. So it's a complete perfect marriage, as we rightly say.
So whoever is seeing this podcast, they will be excited to know more about Australia basically.
Hope so.
Yeah. So getting end of the days, I just want to understand what is the basic eligibility. Let's say if someone is working in a company for 5 years or something, in our part of the world they have the education. So is there any minimum requirement or basic requirement to apply for a PR? Or what do
Okay.
you suggest? One more question I have over here is that what do you suggest for people who is planning, having done the
Okay,
degree?
let's go question by question.
Sure,
Hold
sure,
on.
sure.
So your first question is basically what are the rules, regulations, procedures for applying for PR?
Hmm.
I am not an immigration lawyer. I have immigration lawyers, registered migration agents who work for the company. they advise correctly because it's horses for courses. It's client to client. Some clients may apply on a diploma, some clients could apply on a certificate, and some clients need a bachelor. It depends on the occupation to occupation. So I am in not the position to basically comment on that correctly because again, as I said, it's horses for courses. It's not a one general rule for
Everyone.
everyone.
Hmm.
So that is basically what it is.
That is
So everyone, but there are ways, there are loopholes, there are pathways, there are which a professional registered migration agent experienced in the business or an immigration lawyer are the right ones who can actually take it up and explain and basically move with that procedure.
So you have to go through the right people to
Right
have the
people
documents.
yeah.
Because I have also
Are
seen.
you married, Nimbrus?
Not yet.
Not yet. Tomorrow, if you again, same thing which I tell everyone, you have a child, you'll go to a gynecologist.
Correct.
You're not going to go to and you're not going to go to any gynecologist.
Mm.
You'll go to one of the highest experienced gynecologists
Correct.
because you want the best for your wife and the best for your child.
Mm.
This is the same. You are migrating, and when you're migrating, you are moving. You're basically talking about immigration law. You are actually uprooting yourself from your country, your ground, and you are moving not only yourself but your wife, your child, your family into another foreign ground. And for that, if you think that you can just take a boat and row yourself, dude, you're imagining.
Correct.
You need the right professionals to make the bridge, to help you not only get your visa but to also help you settle down over there, to help you create the pathway, to help you create the same structure, the same blend the culture between your roots, your soil and Australian soil. And that is where FBP comes. And that is where who we are. We build and blend the culture. We explain the Indians, the Australian culture. And India, it's a diversified country. Like every state, every border has a different dialect, different language, different culture.
In the same state itself, if you go from north to south, you will see different cultures.
Exactly. I'm talking about in the same state, from
correct.
north to south, it'll be totally different. And we are talking multiple states. I don't know how many, 33 states, 34 states in India. So if you're talking about every state with every culture and trying to take that culture, and he goes into a foreign soil, and it's going to be difficult. That is where we bridge the pathway. That's why we have our saying that, getting a visa is only 40% of your application. The remaining 60% is basically how to settle in Australia. And that is where we guide them. We guide them by opening bank accounts, introducing them to accountants, Indian real estate agents. We give them the pathway. We introduce them to other migrants who are already there. As we mentioned, we have South Indian communities. Introduce them to those communities where they feel welcome,
comfortable. That's
the
main thing, which is
yes,
required.
where they feel like home. So we have, again, in FBP we always say one thing: home away from home. So our home is away from home, your home. So we want to make you feel at home.
Correct. Because we are we are very we ride more on comfortability.
Exactly.
If we know someone is over there, then we feel
Connected.
Yeah, correct.
That is the most important thing. You feel connected. You're not feeling left out. You feel one of them.
Correct.
And to make you feel that's where we come in, to build that bridge, the cultural bridge between these two countries.
Because I have seen people who sell their lands, hard-earned money, and then putting into this. I would also suggest don't for the cheaper option to get this. There is no shortcut.
There is no shortcut.
I understand.
There is no shortcut. And if you try to take a shortcut, you try to swim in the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean, you are going to drown.
Correct.
Or eaten by sharks.
That's why we require rescue people like you.
Correct.
Yeah, we understand that. I think that we can wind up this session right now. It's been a wonderful, understanding. Because see, my perspective before this session and right now, it's completely changed.
Good.
I hope the people who is watching will also understand things differently right now and go to the right people to understand and process rightly.
Yeah. What I would again like to say to everyone and my audience as well as everyone, it's not us. Don't You don't need to come to us, but find the right registered migration agent, the most experienced registered migration agent, or an immigration lawyer. Please use their services. Don't use services of unregistered immigration agents or unregistered migration agents. I keep saying it the same and same thing. I keep repeating the same thing so that I'm heard by as many people as possible in India and Middle East.
But how can we, how can we understand that they are registered? How can we check that, cross check that, or understand?
If it's a lawyer, it's a lawyer.
Hmm.
There's nothing more. You ask for their certificate. You see the certificate on the wall. That where are they registered? They should have a current practicing certificate. They should be registered with the Supreme Court or the High Court of Australia. So that's an immigration lawyer. And if you are looking at a registered migration agent, you go to the OMARA website, Google check. Like you type FBP International, you will see us over there. So wherever there are two major bodies that can basically do your migration: registered migration agents, we are there, as well as immigration lawyers, we are there too.
I hope you guys also understand, because as I mentioned, my perspective has changed. I hope yours also is changed. So go for the right people, and go to Australia through the experts only.